Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our 7th webinar in the Wellness series. I'm happy to have you today. And thank you to all those that take your time out of your life to spend doing these webinars, and also to those who don't get a chance to go live, but go check them out later. It's very much appreciated. And for all of your emails and stuff that come in of support and ideas. So today we're going to be talking about emotionally navigating changes, and then the Who I Am exercise. So I had already planned this, and this came at a really good time, the emotionally navigating changes, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. So today's focus, our normal check-in that we do, and wellness while working, emotionally navigating changes, work and personal, both aspects, and the Who I Am exercises. This is something that I've loved to do over the years, just to remember roles and how we fit into those roles, who we identify as being as adults, and how that changes. So I have two of my sayings from Deepak Chopra. In the midst of movement and chaos, keep stillness inside of you. Love that one. And every negative belief weakens the partnership between your mind and body. For those of you who have heard me speak, and those of you who know me know that I'm a huge believer of mind and body. When I don't feel well in my mind, I feel it in my body. When things aren't okay, the first sign for me is maybe a headache, a stomach ache, I think I have a cold. Those are really huge signs to me that something else might be going on, or it actually could be those things. But so for me, with living in balance, I have to put my mind and body together because they work in sync. They work in conjunction with each other. And although there are many facets to who we are in wellness, we have to be able to recognize, maybe that knee hurts that you had surgery on many years ago, just different things that may happen to you. You're tired, those types of things that let you know that maybe you're not as well as you think. So let's check in. Let's take a couple seconds to, as you're sitting there listening to this, ask yourself, what does wellness look like to me? Brian does an awesome job of the backgrounds for me. And if you look behind me, usually you'll see in the webinars that I do, there are images that look like wellness to me. Behind me, you see the calm of the water, the walking down, I can just imagine what those sounds are. And I've said many times that peace of mind is wellness to me. And that behind me is indicative of a peace of mind. So I like looking at pictures and seeing what resonates with me. And one of the check-ins that I did for a world check-in last week was how something you'd like to do in the next 6 months that would be fun, or of course post-COVID. And mine was going to the water. I love going to the water, to the beach, especially the beach. I like to be reminded that I am but a speck of sand in the universe, and that my problems, although they feel huge in the big scheme of things and at the end of the day, are maybe not as big as they feel in that moment. How are you? Check in with yourself. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How does your body feel? How does your mind feel? How do you feel, just in general? And hopefully you do this daily. For some of you that have been with us through the introduction to the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, hopefully daily you're asking yourself, how am I doing? Wellness is all encompassing of everything, and it's ever changing. And you can be more than one thing. You can be upset, you can be angry, you can be sad, and you can also still be grateful and have love in your heart. There I feel like there's kind of this notion that, especially as mental health professionals, or if you're someone who's religious or someone who's spiritual, that we sometimes feel like it's not okay not to be okay, and that we have to make the best, and we have to feel a certain way. It's okay to be more than one thing at once. Again, I can be grateful and I can not feel a certain way. So I'll give you an example. So on Friday, our team found out that half of our program, the mental health side, is closing down, and we were all being reassigned. So this was a little bit unexpected, a little bit not. Very much a blessing when it comes to change and still having a job, right? And for some, there's this kind of flavor of, well, you still have a job. You still have employment. You're still getting paid the same. I think it's important for any of us that go through these types of changes to be able to honor the fact that change can be difficult, that maybe you're gonna miss your coworkers, maybe you are just grieving somewhere you've been for 10 years, and that doesn't mean you don't have gratitude. And that's where I'm going with that, is that I think we need to get over this stigma of that if I feel like crap about something, it doesn't mean I'm not grateful, or if I'm upset about something. And then getting to the root of it. You know, am I gonna miss people? Is it just the change? Change is hard, right? There's that whole list of things, that these stress lists that'll say moving, changing jobs. But yet I feel like sometimes we're the quickest to judge ourselves when we're not feeling the best during change. And like I said, you know, we may feel it physically and not even know. For me, it was very important to reach out to my supporters and kind of talk about the change, and my mom and my son and my friends, and just kind of get that out there, you know, and talk about it, process it. And yes, at the end of the day, we are blessed. We have a job, and we get to go to work, and we get to serve people regardless of where that's at. But I'm just giving you the example of how you can be more than one thing, feel more than one thing at once, and that's okay. So I've been doing this world check-in and this California check-in. And the world check-in I do with Matthew Federici, who is the director of the Copeland Center. And he wanted to send us a special message to Fresno, which I was very happy about. So we're going to take a look at that, or take a listen.
Hi everybody, this is Matthew Federici of the Copeland Center for Wellness and Recovery. Baltimore reached out to me during these difficult times of connecting with a creative idea of sending a video to say hello. This is my second take because the first one was too long to send. But I just want to say hi, and I want to thank all of you there for the work you do and for the commitment that Fresno County Department of Behavioral Health has had to the evidence-based practice and the fidelity to the values and ethics of RAP. I remember many moons ago meeting Joni, and I'm really proud to see the succession planning and the baton passing with Baltimore there. And that's really important, that counties invest in best practices, evidence-based practices, and there's baton passing between leadership. So congratulations, hope you enjoy your webinar today, and thank you. Look forward to meeting many of you in the future.
Pretty awesome, right? Being acknowledged by the Copeland Center, by the executive director, I thought was pretty cool. And he's a really nice guy and very much invested in wellness. And so there's that. And he actually will be joining us live from, he's in another state, in 2 weeks. He's going to be joining our live stream with some words of hope and encouragement. And so I hope you enjoyed that. So, okay, let's go on to emotionally navigating changes, work and personal. There's this cluster that you're gonna see on here of things that are all encompassing of wellness. And I can send this to you if you'd like, if you wanna email me, and if you'd like a copy. Education, health, relationships, recreation, gratitude zone, parenting. Where am I? Emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Techniques and strategies that are helping me balance the load of current events. Shelter in place. Fresno, just yesterday, our governor has Fresno back in sheltering in place more so than other places because we're on the watch list. So we're going through that right now. Racism, we had that recently happen in the country. Physical distancing. As you can see today, there's a wider shot because I have a guest coming in, and we will be 6 feet apart, and we both will be wearing masks, just to let you guys know that this is why this looks a little bit different today. Social connections, virtual platforms. This is new to us, right? And some people love it and some people hate it. Isolation, anxiety. You think of Fresno right now, so not only are we possibly a bit isolated, and there's a fine line between isolation and choosing to spend time by yourself, but it's also been over 100 degrees, so we're also stuck inside, most of us, because maybe we're sensitive to heat or we don't like the heat. And so we have that going on. So all these changes, right? And learning zone, comfort zone. I am finding purpose, meaning, and direction. Fear, confused zone. I am overwhelmed, frustrated. I'm feeling helpless. I am misdirecting anger. Really, very important one. I constantly monitor the news. I am quick to anger. I have excessive worry. I let fear and anxiety influence my decision-making process. I'm making decisions based out of fear and judgment. I am finding fault in everything and everyone. You know, I said to Brian when I walked in, I'm really tired of this whole worrying about COVID every time we get sick. You know, I was tested, after Dewan got tested, I did sign up and got tested in Sanger. It was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I would agree with Dewan that I could still feel it hours later. It definitely opened up my nasal cavity, for lack of a better way to describe it. But I was not in excruciating pain or anything. And I had a lot of people ask me, because I posted my results on Facebook, were you sick? Did you have symptoms? Why did you get tested? And I said, well, no, I wasn't. I wanted to get tested just to know. But I don't know about any of you guys, but I may sneeze or cough and I immediately, oh my God, do I have COVID? You know, and it gets very tiring. So for me personally, I'm really looking forward to them coming out with a vaccine. And I can say I'm very, very careful still when I go anywhere. I'm wearing masks and protecting myself. But it gets tiring, right? It's a part of everyday life now. So be aware of your feelings, becoming more aware of your feelings about the changes. When I started off about the wellness check, make it a point to do regular gut checks if you can. How am I feeling? Again, check in with yourself throughout the day like you would a child. When you check on them and you check to see how they're doing, check on yourself. How am I doing? What do I need to do right now to make myself better? What do I need to do the rest of the day or in the next few hours? And what exactly are your feelings? What are they in response to? When you saw that chart, you know, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling hot, I think especially in Fresno summers, we get a lot of misdirected anger, right? We might get the clerk at the store who's rude to us, or somebody driving flip us the bird because maybe they don't have air and they're burning up. So it's also very important, again, to you know, what is causing these feelings that we're feeling, and are we directing them at the right people? How are you thinking about the changes that is causing you to feel the way you do about them? What if you were to think differently about them? So let's use the example I gave about finding out that a bunch of us were being reassigned. You know, those are times in life where I've been in the same place for about 13 years probably. There are times in life where that can go either way, and that can take my wellness either way. And ultimately, it's gonna be in here. It's gonna be what I choose. It's gonna be whether or not I reach out to my supporters, how I deal with it. So that's really important sentence. What if you were to think differently about them? So, because again, that can change your whole life. It can change your whole attitude on life, right? Which in turn, as I mentioned, if you are getting symptoms and you're not feeling well and headaches, well, you're going to get less of those because you're stressing less. What are the possible different ways of looking at changes? Explore the changes from many perspectives and explore your feelings from many perspectives as well. So then even if you have to put on a piece of paper and write, what are my options? What are my options of how I'm going to react to this? Then you can explore those. Charting your stress, I'm going to be sharing something with you. So it's normal for changes to add stressors to your life. Keep track of it, having a strategy to deal with change. Like a RAP plan means in part having a strategy to deal with your stress. So this means understanding when you're reaching the fatigue, that is an indicator that you are approaching burnout. You guys will remember a few webinars back when I referenced Courtney Love's song, Malibu, How Are You So Burnt When You're Barely on Fire? And a bunch of you loved that and told me so. So knowing your optimum stress level and what to do when it's influencing your performance in a negative way, look to self-care tactics such as taking frequent breaks, eating right, exercise, getting enough sleep, add activities like yoga, meditation, walking, whatever it is for you. So I'm going to share something personal with you guys right now, which is, are you too stressed to be productive or not stressed enough? And it's an article from Harvard, and I cited it here in case you want to go look. So I want you to take a look at this right here that I put on here, and there are 3 different outlets. And there's one that's very clean and pristine and just has 2. There's another that's burnt all the way to the far right. And then to the left, you notice, look at all those plugs. And this may be an odd analogy, but which do you identify with? Where are you and which would you like to be? And how can you get to that one that you want to be? I would honestly say that I'm between the middle one and the other. Definitely not the burnt. I work very hard at not getting there. But just take a moment to ask yourself, when you first looked at that, what did you identify with? Which one of those? So in this, if you take a look at the picture below, it should say to the left, but so this is the Yerkes-Dodson law. Performance increases with physiological or mental arousal stress, but only up to a point. When the level of stress becomes too high, performance decreases. So there's good stress, right, that we utilize to our benefit. And I just wanted to read you guys a few of the questions that it asks, just to get you thinking, because I did take the test and I'm going to share with you my results. In the last month, and it does say for the last month, okay, when answering these questions, focus on your thoughts and feelings during the last month. So I did this for the last 30 days. So keeping in mind that something may have happened yesterday or Friday, so you may take this test every week and it might be different, but in the last month, how often have you been upset because of something that happened unexpectedly? How often have you felt unable to control the important things in your life? How often have you felt nervous and stressed? How often have you felt confident about your ability to handle your personal problems? How often have you felt that things were going your way? How often have you felt unable to cope with all the things you have had to do? How often have you been able to control irritations in your life? How often have you felt on top of things? Then the last 2, how often have you felt angry because of things that were outside of your control? And how often have you felt that difficulties were piling up so high that you could not overcome them? And remember that this is recorded, so that if you want to go back and you want to be able to listen to those, or if you want to go to the actual website. So I got a score of 24 out of 40. And I'm being really transparent and honest here because this represents the frequency with which you've experienced stressful events over the last month. So then on the next page, what this shows you is my score versus kind of where the score should be, an average, where that you're being really productive. So in reality, mine is saying that I'm too stressed to be productive. Do I agree with that? No, not necessarily. I think there's a modicum of truth to it, to where that when we are too stressed, or myself, yes, it can definitely take a toll on our productivity, right? So this last part told me that the higher scores, of course, as any of us would guess, correspond to higher levels of stress. So again, I'm gonna invite you to do that. If your score is much higher or much lower, you're more likely to experience stress in a way that is detrimental to productivity. So in particular, scores of 20 or more are generally considered to indicate an unproductive level of stress, as I shared with you. Increasing stress may feel counterintuitive, but remember that according to research, increasing arousal also corresponds to increasing attention and interest up to a point. So when I got my score, it did not freak me out. I actually thought that was probably quite accurate, right? As I said, with COVID going on, with changes going on, just finding out that about being reassigned, these are not necessarily horrendous things like the being reassigned, but they're still changes. I may take this in a week and score a 3. It could be totally different. And just a couple more things, not forgetting empathy. During times of change, it's important to remember that you're not the only one experiencing life challenges. There are millions of us throughout this world who are going through this with COVID. There are hundreds of us here at Behavioral Health that are experiencing changes all the time. An interesting thing happens when we shift our focus off of our own issues and turn our attention and compassion to others who are having a hard time. Not only are we not ruminating on our own stress, we experience the good feelings that come with supporting someone else. So I can tell you, I reached out to most of the staff on Saturday just to check in and see how they were doing. Finding people to share your feelings with, your supporters, very important. As I mentioned earlier, reaching out to your supporters, having frank conversations with them, being honest. This is going to deepen your relationships by showing that you can relate with others who are affected by change. And I think oftentimes we don't realize that sometimes people kind of are watching to see what our reactions are going to be. If you've got a team of 10 being told something, your reactions are being watched by some, and sometimes that can maybe lead other people into reacting in a more positive way. So practicing optimism, how you think about the changes determines how you feel about the changes. I'm going to also remind you guys that anybody who wants me to send you the PowerPoint, I'm more than willing, because some of these are quite lengthy, but I do think they're important. What are the benefits of the changes? Can I focus on all the good things that will result from these changes? This is what champions do, right? Change champions. So be a change champion. They're the ones who are able to demonstrate enthusiasm for the changes, which is contagious, as I mentioned, and help others to see the positive benefits of the changes. So remember, you are the expert on yourself. Whether that's at work, whether that's at home, you are the expert on yourself. So I'm going to put my mask on right now. We have a special guest today. As I said, we're going to be distancing, and you can see the setup here. So Rita's going to sit all the way on that side, and I'm going to sit all the way on this side, and then we are going to move on to the next part. So Rita Mejia, please join us. Welcome, Rita.
Hi, Baltimore. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So Rita's with us today. She's a clinical supervisor with Fresno County DBH, and she's with the RISE conservatorship team, County of Fresno. She's also an advanced level facilitator. We were trained together in San Juan Bautista, and so I'm happy to have her here today. So I asked Rita to come, and I'm going to be asking Rita a couple of questions that she's going to help us out with. So this next slide that you guys see in front of you, this is something that we use all the time, right? Or we've at least used in our experience. And I didn't tell Rita I was going to be doing this. I think this is something that we should also and could also use for ourselves. This is something that we ask clients to do all the time, right? Which is a strengths assessment. And so, Rita, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Baltimore.
And so, Rita Mejia, everyone, and Rita, if you could project when you talk, because
sorry.
so the mic picks you up. Rita, what are your current strengths?
My current strengths.
Talent,
let's see.
skills, personal, and environmental.
Okay, so thanks for letting me be here today. And all of this is happening in real time. We didn't know. I didn't know these questions ahead of time. So some
Right.
strengths. I would say some strengths about me are that I'm willing to be present. I'm willing to hold conflicting feelings that you talked about earlier. So I can hold, for example, I could be mad at you, Baltimore, about something, and I can still totally love you.
Yes.
And I know that. And I think a lot of us have the capacity to do that and do it. We just don't realize that we are doing something that's skilled. Let's see, some other strengths about me are I'm an advocate. And I'm willing to take risks emotionally and be vulnerable in the service of helping our community, helping my family, the people I love, and to grow myself. I'm committed to my own personal growth. And it's not always easy, but I'm willing to do that.
Thank you, Rita. Great answers. So when you guys see this going back, we would then go into the home daily living, the assets, the employment. What I would be asking Rita what her individual, what her desires are, her aspirations, what does she want, and also what has she used in the past, what strengths has she used in the past. What does that sound like, Rita?
What are the strengths that I've used in the past?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, say more.
So doesn't that sound similar to rap?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what have you used in the past?
Yes.
What do you want to do? And then on the next slide,
Yes.
you see that we would be asking her, but again, we could ask ourselves these same things. What are my current strengths when it comes to supportive relationships, culture, which I know is a huge thing for you, Rita, wellness. So let me ask you that. What are your current strengths, you think, when it comes to your culture and your spirituality?
So strengths about my culture and spirituality. So it's everywhere. I walk within my faith, and for me, the part of the culture that I always have with me are my ancestors. I'm always aware that the ancestors paved the way for me, for us, and the ancestors are not limited to my bloodline. The ancestors can be part of the earth, can be part of your family and Brian's family. So I'm aware of that I take that with me everywhere I go, and the present moment.
Awesome. And how does that affect your wellness and your health?
So that affects my wellness by always being able to access hope. So when I lose hope, so in the early days of COVID shelter in place, at least for us in Fresno, which was March 16th, when I felt like I wanted to give up or struggled to find hope, I was never alone. I was never alone. And there were times that I would depend on myself, and I was alone in those moments. But I would quickly remember that if I leaned into my faith, or I took refuge in the awareness that my ancestors are always behind me. So I actually imagine them behind my neck and shoulders and holding me up. I know that I'm never alone, and that keeps me hopeful.
Love it. Thank you, Rita.
Yeah.
So on this next, so Rita's going to help me with this Who I Am exercise, which this part she
Okay.
did know about. I just kind of threw that other one in there, just to give you guys an idea of, and I knew Rita could handle it and would be okay with it. that's something we do to clients all the time. We're asking them to answer these questions, and then we're basing who they are by the way that they answer these questions. And then someone looks in their chart without being in person with them, and they look and they're basing who this person is by their answers, right? Which, as I say, sometimes that's really not fair, because if you ask me again in a week, they could be totally different. I may be really pissed off and in a bad mood today, and those answers are going to be different, right? I may say, well, my resilience is what keeps me strong. You know, it just depends on where we're going. But I think those are actually some good tools that we use with clients that we can actually use with ourselves, and ask ourselves, so who I am. So I thought that Rita and I could answer a few of these questions, a couple of these questions for you guys. And I'd like you guys to, as you read them right there, think of the same. Like I said, you can go back to this later, or I can send it to you. Identify the key descriptors of who you are. Look to come up with as many descriptors as possible. They should be one or one to two word descriptions only, keeping the following thoughts in mind. So, the key descriptors of who you are, again, you are the expert on yourself, right? So what are the 5 to 10 most important values in my life? That's a lot of them, but Rita, can you think of any right now, just off the top of your head, of some important values in your life?
Yeah, so I value faith, I value integrity, I value community, I value respect for all sentient beings. Those are some that I come up right away with.
Okay. And I would say for me, I value loyalty, I value family, I value honesty. Honesty is a big one for me. I value transparency, non-judgment, openness. I value those things. They're very important to me when it comes to who I'm going to have in my life and who I choose to be in my life. Positive people who have the ability to look at something in a positive manner. So,
Can I add something?
I'm sorry?
So when I hear you say that, it actually inspires me more, and then it brings up more things that I value.
Right.
And so I think that process, just by naming what we value, cultivates the value awareness in each of us, and it's a cycle.
And that's a good point, Rita. You may want to do this with someone else. You know, you may want to take this and sit with someone or sit with some people on your team during lunch, or those of you at home and with whoever's next to you, if you're working from home, your partner, whoever, your kid, and answer some of these questions, you know, and get to know each other more maybe and make each other think. So how would you describe the attributes you like most about yourself, Rita?
Ooh. That one's a little harder. I think at that point I would like a partner to help me with some of those things.
So how about if we did a little role reversal?
Okay.
And again, this is something you guys can do at work if you're doing it with a partner. I've had people do this during my rap trainings. So I'm going to tell Rita what I like about her, okay? So this is who I am, but we also learn a lot about who we are by what other people tell us, right? And then we can pick and choose. This thing keeps going down. I'm sorry, you guys. You keep seeing me picking at it. So Brian's laugh, like that just made me feel really good. Those little things that we want to pay attention to in life that make us feel good. So Rita, how would I describe the attributes I most like about you? I think you are a great supervisor. I think that you exude wellness. I have been privy to being around you when we went to San Juan Bautista, where you were not a supervisor. You were not a Fresno County employee. You were a like-minded human being who believed in wellness. And I got to see you treat the gas attendant, the waiter, the director, everyone exactly the same, with respect and an unconditional high regard. And it made me proud to be there with you. And that it wasn't fake. You know, we oftentimes will see that perhaps in people, and then you see the other side. Well, I have yet to see the other side. Those are a couple of the things, but the wanting the best for everybody, you know, and wanting everybody to be happy and comfortable and inspired, and so I mean I could go on, but those are a few things that
Thank you.
I would say yes that I like about you.
All right, I'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you. So some of the attributes that I really like about you, and I share them randomly when they come up, right? So I'll send you a text at 11 o'clock at night or 1 in the morning or 3. Because these things hit me and I feel so appreciative. So one of the things I like about you is that you're so magnetic, Baltimore. So you draw people in, but not because you seek it out, because I find you to be so solid and stable and utterly authentic and without apology. And when I experience that around you, and I've seen other people respond to you as well, it makes me feel in touch with the best part of me and the most honest part of me. And you are genuinely judgment free. And you're so ready to laugh in celebration with someone else. So you really do, you take empathy to a new level. You are there with people and so present in the very moment. And if something shifts, you can go along with it. And if things get difficult, I feel like you're the person that we can lean against, and you're not going to budge. And I've never heard you play the victim role. You know, you're very much in charge of your life, and you take ownership of it, but you're solid and you're dependable. You're always fun without trying to be fun. So those are some of the things that come up for me.
Thank you, Rita. So I'm going to have Rita come back every 2 weeks and just do this specific one. As you saw, you guys, that was not scripted. Thank you, Rita. That was to give you an idea of what you and a coworker, or you and your partner, or again, you and your children, or hey, what do you like about me? You may not want to get into the what do you don't likes about me at first, and stick with the positive. But again, that is a big part of I feel in learning who I am, is how other people see me, the positive things. I'm not going to go through all of these for us, but so Rita, if we had to name one feeling that we have most often, what is it? One feeling that you have most often, what is it? And I'm going to say that mine is between fear and love. Living with a panic disorder, and in the spirit of transparency, I'm being honest with you guys, is fear, love. And sometimes they work together, because fear of loving, fear of not being loved. But I love to love. I love to love my child and my grandchild and my family and my friends and my coworkers and the strangers on the street and the ones that I pass when it's 107 degrees and they don't have anywhere to lay and they're laying on the concrete, and I think, there but for the grace of God go I. I love to love. And unfortunately, fear is just part of who I am. So when I say who I am, it is part of me. It's part of me that I've had to learn to live with.
Yeah. Wow, that was good.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my mind was going when I think of what was the question with what's the
Yeah,
most
one feeling
prominent?
that you feel the most.
The one feeling, so I'm somebody who breaks it down between feelings and emotions and thoughts. And so I'm probably going to go towards emotion. Although it's not an emotion. I think that the thing that most comes up for me is that I'm highly aware of who and what I'm connected to. So I can read the newspaper and see something and I feel connected to it. Or I'm hiking a trail and I love redwood trees. So I see a redwood tree and I feel incredibly connected to this tree, and I find myself thinking about, the hundreds of years it's been alive and what it's endured, but connected. So that's more, I guess, of a thought emotion. But the ultimate feeling would be love.
Yeah.
So it would be love. Yeah.
And there are no right or wrong answers, folks. Thank you, Rita. When Rita mentions the trees, I can vouch. I've seen her hug them. I can really vouch when we were in San Juan Bautista. And I've said that to other people, and they've been like, really? I'm like, yes, she loves the trees. But again, this is to give you an example of, I said, and the reason I wanted to do this is because I think all too often after our teenage years and we start to become adults and we get into these roles, and okay, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a grandfather, I'm a rap liaison, we start identifying with all these titles that, even when I've had it difficult, to think of who I am, I go back to when I was a teenager. What did I dream about? What did I want in life? What did I yearn for in life? Mm-hmm. I was not just a father, and not that I don't love those. Those are such honorable roles that I love. But I feel like all too often we may forget, well, who's Baltimore? What does Baltimore like to do? And especially for some of us who are clean and sober, which I have been for many years. Who is Baltimore without alcohol? Who is Baltimore without drugs? This is a whole new Baltimore. But who is Baltimore? And what's amazing is I want you to think of this for a second, and even you, Rita, is that every single person you come in contact with, there's a different version of you out there. What they perceive you to be, what they perceive you to look like, act like. There's all these different versions out there of who we are, and I just think that's a magnificent thing about life. So the last part we'll do on the who I am, and I hope you guys are doing this also at the same time, whether it's on a piece of paper or thinking about it, but gathering as many descriptors, we're just going to do a couple, that you can about yourself. Identify the top 5 or 10 of those descriptors, then convert them into nouns, placing them after the words I am. So let's say you did your list and how I said love. I'm a lover. I am a fighter. I am a warrior. I'm a warrior when it comes to wellness. I will fight for my wellness. And it may not always look like it to the outsider, but again, we have no idea the struggles that are going on within the people that are around us. But I am a fighter, and I have been for many, many years since I was a child. I'm a warrior again when it comes to getting over hurdles and moving forward. Something happened last week, again, in the sake of transparency. DeJuan said this the other day, and it made me feel good. She said, sometimes I think I share too much. She said something like that. And sometimes I kind of leave these feeling that way, but that's just, how I am. Rita said authentic, yeah. So I was having some trouble driving. That's part of my panic disorder. And I said to my son, I've got to get out there and do this. I've got to fight this. So again, when I say I am a warrior, I am fighter, that's what I mean, regardless of whether it's that or if there's a fire down the street and I want to go help put it out, or if there's something going on that people need help with, you know. So those are some words that stuck out to me. Rita, what stuck out to you on that?
Okay, so ask the question again so I can feel it.
So descriptors that you can about yourself, just some descriptors about you, and then I am.
Yeah.
Converting
okay.
them.
So, because I had a different response, and then listening to you, and it went back. So I am goofy. Like I can be really goofy, and so if I'm at home by myself, I laugh at my own jokes. I think I'm funny, and I'm okay with that. And I talk to myself, and I'm okay with that. And I think I'm also somebody who's very protective. I'm a protector, so I'm really protective of my family and of the people I work with, anybody I love, right? I feel protective of those people. I think I'm also somebody who's genuinely curious about life and about people's experiences and culture. And I love hearing about people's life. Yeah, so those are some of the things about me.
Awesome, and that's a good example.
Mm-hmm.
So this exercise, you all, is to, again, get you to start thinking about who you are. And hopefully, you know, my son and I still laugh at this. I said to him a few years back, a couple years ago, I want you to get excited about your life, you know. And then I remembered I had heard that from Dr. Phil. But don't we all want to be excited about life, right? And I think part of that is just acknowledging and recognizing who we are. So, Rita, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Baltimore.
I appreciate it, and for allowing others to see how this can work from two different people with totally different, you know, perceptions of who they are and wellness. And it is much appreciated, and we hope to have you back again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rita. So I'm going to move on to the next part. So again, what I really wanted you guys to take from that was how you could focus on figuring out who you are. And let me say this too, as I've said before, this by no means means that people do not know who they are, do not know what wellness is. They're just tools to use in conjunction with whatever we already feel or are already experiencing. So really that's what I want you to take out of that is, how can I add to that toolbox that we've gone over in the past few months of my wellness tools? And you know what? I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. I can do this. You know, and reminding ourselves. So it's good to have a lot of this written down. Okay, fun part. So, Brian, do we have people in the live chat right now?
Yes.
So you guys can do this in the live chat. That would be great, and we can read them while we're here. And we're in towards the end of today's webinar, by the way. What is something you've learned from these webinars? You might be at home saying, well, this is the first one, Baltimore. Well, that's okay. What did you learn from today's? So what is something you've learned? And we've got some gift cards to give out. I do need answers. And then you will be in the wellness drawing. What is something you've learned from these webinars? I can tell you, as the one facilitating them, I've learned a lot as I'm doing them and as I'm preparing them. And I've learned that there are people out there who are yearning to learn, because you guys send emails and you guys give me ideas about what you'd like to see come up in future webinars. And I've learned that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of staff who want to talk and want to get through things and just need a listening ear. Yeah. So what do we have so far, Brian? I can't see the...
That I need to check in with myself, not just others.
That I need to check in with myself, not just others. I love that. Yes, we often forget.
Do you want me to say who said it?
Yeah, please.
Tishawn Baker.
So that was Tishawn Baker. Tishawn, I also want to give you props. You've been at every single webinar. Thank you so much.
Another one?
I appreciate that. Another one?
I've learned more about who I am in relationship with others.
I've learned more about who I am in relationship to others?
With others.
With others.
And that was Rita.
And that was Rita. That was Rita Mejia. So Rita's literally across the room over there, watching from her phone now. Anybody else, Brian?
That's it for now.
Okay, and Brian and I are aware that some of you have said that you're not able to log on to the YouTube Live and all that, so that's why I'm giving you the option. Usually after I do this webinar for about 3 days, I receive emails, and keep them coming. I totally appreciate them, and I love reading them. And so yeah, just shoot me an email, something you've learned from these webinars, okay? Anything you want to share, Brian?
Just keep up the great work.
Keep up the great work. Thank you, Brian. So email me if you're interested in being a part of a cohort that can virtually meet weekly for a wellness check-in. We actually started this yesterday, to where that the people who were interested in being in a cohort, we began that yesterday, and that worked out really, really well. And then the last but not least is July 27th. As I said, and these are subject to change because, for instance, Matthew Federici, the director, really wants to be a part of our next one and wants to come on and say a few things, which I think is great, having the director of RAP with us. And so we're going to be doing a wellness accountability, and what I'm going to be asking Matthew to talk about is organizational RAP and what he has seen as far as his experience as executive director, what he has seen this do throughout the world. Because remember that this is not just a California thing, a Fresno thing, there are Fortune 500 companies who use the concept and stuff. So you guys have a great and blessed day, and I look forward to hearing from you in my email or whatever, and however you want to get a hold of me. You have a great day. Thank you.